have Shefali ji next. As the introduction has mentioned, Shefali ji is a new contemporary voice who is probably in connection with another type of Shakti. She has unearthed and released the Shakti of speech and communication. So if anybody has Saraswati Devi resident on her tongue in the contemporary age, I think Shefali ji qualifies for that. So Shefali ji, you have 10 minutes, please.
Thank you, very kind. Most of what I wanted to say, actually, Madhuji has said it very beautifully. I find it very irksome when in India people talk about feminism, when it is a very limiting philosophy, actually. So what empowerment? Who is empowering women? You are already empowered. You are Shakti. It's what our philosophy has told us. So what is this question of somebody else coming from outside and empowering you? That concept I've never really understood. When we are saying in our prayers, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu, what does it mean? It means, oh goddess who is within all sentient beings. It doesn't talk about just women, but the goddess, the feminine tattva, is present in all sentient beings, in men, in trees, in animals, in birds, in everything. And that Devi present in all bhutas as Shakti, as Bhranti, as Yukti, as a mother, and we worship that feminine. We come from that culture. But what I find it immensely saddening is this whole new construct where everything Indian and everything dharmic is ridiculed. So you track conversations on WhatsApp, and if you find that somebody is, allegedly behaving in a very old-fashioned way, old-fashioned according to somebody else, that person is being told mockingly, like, why are you being so Savitri? आप इतनी बड़ी सावित्री क्यों हो रहे हो? सावित्री ने क्या किया था किसी को मालूम है? People think that Savitri was, a complete walkover. What did Savitri do? Savitri was a princess. She was told to get married to a prince. I mean, her father said, you can get married to anybody whom you want. She chose Satyavan, who was a penniless person who lived in a forest. She said, I do not want to marry a rich man. I do not want to marry a prince. I want to marry this man because he fits into my idea of a good husband. She chose him, even though she knew that he had a short life and that he was going to die very early. And his parents lived in a forest and they lived in extreme penury. But she said, no, this is the man I want to marry. She went against her parents' wishes. She married Satyavan. She went into the forest. She started living in the forest. And when, on the day that was foretold that Satyavan was going to die, they say that Yama came with this pasha to take Satyavan. And Savitri said, I'm sorry, you can't take him. And she started following Yama. So after some time, Yam actually said, you know what, you cannot really follow me. His life is over. That's why I'm taking him. You need to go back. She said, I'm not going to go back. So Yama said, ask me a boon and take that boon and go back. So the first boon she asked was that, may my father-in-law, who had lost his eyesight, may he regain his eyesight. Yama said, okay, your father-in-law will get his eyes. Now go back. She didn't go back. She kept on following Yama. At the next point, Yama again asked her, now please go back. You cannot come any further. You are still in Bhuloka and Satyavan is coming with me. So she said, no, I am coming with you. So then Yama asked her, take another boon. So she said, let my father-in-law regain his kingdom and let him get his wealth back. And she kept on following. So finally, Yama got really fed up with her and he said, ask for one more boon, but just go back. But you cannot ask for Satyavan's life back. Short of that, you can ask for anything else. So she smiled at him and she said, may I become a mother of good, worthy, whatever children, of good virtue. So Yama said yes, because she had technically not asked for her husband's life back. And then she said, but you said Tathastu, and how am I going to get those kids? I need my husband back. So then Yama gave her husband's life back, and that's why she's worshipped. She didn't go around a tree, she actually had a debate with Yama. She made him lose in an argument, and that's how she got her husband's life back. So if somebody says you're a Savitri, that's a huge compliment. That means you're capable of taking life's decisions, you're capable of fighting for what you hold dear. But that icon has been used in recent years by modern educated Indians to signify something that is so contrary to the idea of what Savitri stands for.
And even defeating the Lord of Death, Yama being the Lord of Death. I mean, that really takes some courage.
And some persistence. Anybody else, any lesser person would have said, okay, I mean, you're saying so, I'm going back. But this is such a wonderful allegory. It's such a wonderful story of women's empowerment. Ubhay Bharati, who was Mandan Mishra's wife, he was called Ubhay Bharati. Ubhay Bharati, why? Ubhay means two, and Bharati stands for from the root bha, which is to give light. So she was somebody who gave the light of knowledge to both her father's house as well as to her husband's house. That is why she was called Ubhay Bharati. So when Adi Shankaracharya had a debate with Mandan Mishra about which way of life was better, whether Advaita was better or Advaita philosophy was better, they were so evenly matched that they couldn't find a third person, an objective judge who would judge the debate. The only person who had that capability was Ubhay Bharati, and even though she was married to Mandan Mishra, there was conflict of interest here, but still, she said, I will do it, and I will do it impartially, and everybody believed that she would do it impartially. That is the kind of tradition that we are coming from. And which is why it saddens me immensely that in these days, it is said that everything about dharmic way is discriminatory against women. As she said, it is all learnt. Where there were where our original way of life was not disturbed, we still kept on to our original thought, which was, mother worshipping, Devi worshipping, feminist sort of. I don't like the word feminist, but, the Shakti kind of, the Shakti way of thinking, let me call it that way.
We still do, by the way. If any woman emerges strong, for example, anywhere else in the world, a strong woman who frightens men would be an object of ridicule, jokes, and all that. But in India, any woman who, for example, Indira Gandhi was celebrated as the only man in an all-women cabinet. And people loved the fact that her male colleagues were frightened of her. She was not ridiculed for it. And there are paintings of her as Durga incarnate. She wasn't exactly the compassionate Durga she needed to be. She became mother of one or two sons.
But the
and
icon that is
it.
used to describe a strong woman is not a Haridan or not a Zantipi, it's
right.
Durga. So that makes a lot of difference. Which is why I find it immensely shameful that somebody who calls herself quote-unquote feminist, who didn't like a movie, and then she writes an article saying that I was reduced to a vagina. Reduced to a vagina? Excuse me? In our thought, we don't reduce anyone to a vagina. How is Shiva worshipped in a temple? Do you just see a linga? No. What is the base of the linga? It is the yoni. It is the vagina. Because it is the force of creation. And together, that is how Srijan happens. Together, that is how Srishti is created. So when somebody is using vagina and saying that I am reduced to a vagina, you are insulting your own womanhood. You are insulting the inner Shakti inside you. And that is not the Indian way of Shakti. Indian way of Shakti is an all-empowering, all-encompassing way which tells not just women, but every sentient being that you have the Shakti in you. Thank you.
Shefali ji, thank you so much for that passionate and extremely Shakti charged delivery. You just reminded me that there is this aspect of colonization. We've spoken about it outside of the forum as well. But colonization is so deeply embedded that sometimes I don't even think we recognize that it's not part of our traditions. When I was doing some research on our traditions once, I was told that even the Muhurat aspect, we have our rishte and we have the bridal ceremonies and the marriage ceremonies in the north performed at night time. And so on occasion, the Muhurat is actually not at night time, but even then it was done at night time. And the historical reason he gave to me was that in times gone past, not too distant past, when an Indian girl would attain an age whereby she was ready for marriage, then she would be kidnapped. And so the tradition developed to perform the rituals under cover of darkness. And yet, even in the north and certainly outside of India, many people still look for a time, and the most inconvenient time in the middle of the night, to perform the marriage ceremonies. So this is a very, very deep issue, the colonization and the decolonization of the Manomaya Kosha of this country. So thank you very much for bringing those pointers in.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net.